Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Top Producers Nation podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made for top producers with top producers and done by none other than the top producers throughout the nation. You can check us out, by the way, at topproducersnation.com to see the shared resources, join the actual community that we have in place to help you as an agent become a top producer in your desired market, wherever that might be. We are also powered, of course, by Tampa Bay Real Producers here in Tampa, our local home. And today we get to hang out with one of our partners of the Tampa Bay Real Producers platform, and that is none other than Mr. Jonathon Brown with Utility Helpers. How you doing, brother?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. It's good to have you here. Yeah. Jonathon, and you guys have been supporting our platform since, I think, the beginning, very soon to at least early days, I know, with Real Producers. So we always appreciate that. And Utility Helpers has sponsored certain events that we've done over the years. Obviously, you can find them, by the way, on our website, which is tampabayrealproducers.com. Check out the partners, and you'll find Jonathon and the Utility Helpers company there. So for people who might not know much about Utility Helpers, before we dive into that, let's start with just your background a little bit for people to get to know you. Did you grow up in Tampa? If not, how did you get yourself into Tampa? And eventually, how did you get yourself into this crazy utility helper business?
Yeah, so not originally from Tampa. I moved to Tampa in 2001. Actually grew up as what they would so-call an Army brat. So my father was a chaplain in the military, actually. Moved around everywhere, didn't stay anywhere longer than probably 3 or 4 years. They dumped me off in South Carolina, and he got stationed to Texas. So I stayed there for a little while, wanted something different, didn't really like the area. So ended up in Tampa because actually my ex-wife, she was from the Orlando and Miami. She'd moved between those two at some point and was like, hey, I want to move to Florida one day. And I was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
She didn't think I was going to say that, but I did because that's what I'm used to.
So it had nothing to do with McDill. It wasn't a military connection.
No connection at all. No,
okay.
My father lives here now because of me, but did not live here from that. He was.
Gotcha.
So, so came here 2001 and then kind of just that's how I landed in Tampa. Been here ever since. I did move to upstate New York for a year and then came back.
Got too cold and feel like, all right, got to get back down to Florida.
Actually, I liked it up there. I'm not going to say I like the cold, but I could deal with it. So, it's one of those things to where there was a situation that brought me up there and then I came back.
With all the places that you lived in growing up in that military family, was there one that stood out to you that you liked the best?
I had the opportunity to live in Germany for a few years, so that was pretty cool. I was young though. I wish I was a little bit older.
Sure.
When I lived there, because we lived there for 3 years. I mean, that was really cool.
What part of Germany?
Kaiserslautern.
Okay, no idea.
Cape Town. Yeah.
Is that south, west, Berlin area?
No.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure.
Let's hope there's no Germans following along right now. So somebody's saying, hey, it's my town. It's my town.
Yeah, right. Sorry, but yeah, it's over there somewhere.
That's cool. So you got to live there 3 years, and so then you went to the sunshine of Florida, huh?
Yeah. Ended up there. I moved from Germany to Virginia to South Carolina to here. I mean, and obviously many places before that.
Right.
But yeah, landed here and love it here.
And so did you end up when did the Utility Helpers thing start?
2017.
Okay, so it was a while. So you had some other jobs first, I would assume, before you got involved with that. What was your main background before you started Utility Helpers?
So the main background was actually I was a door-to-door sales rep for what was Bright House, which is now Spectrum.
Sure.
So I was actually there for around 16-ish plus years.
Wow.
Before
door to door the whole time?
So yes and no. So I started in actually retail management, didn't like it, couldn't go see my family because I didn't live around them because nobody lived here at that time.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a change of pace. Met a guy through my ex-wife that she was a leasing agent at a property, and he was a sales rep, door-to-door sales rep for what was then at the time Time Warner. So decided to embark on that and see what happens. So they threw me to the wolves.
The hardest form of sales you can be, man, is door to door. I've done it before. It's not easy.
Yeah, I mean it's. I think it takes. We saw a lot of people come and go.
Sure.
So yeah, I guess it takes a specific person to do it. But I did. I mean,
especially for a period of time. Like if you've made it through those first couple of weeks and actually dealt with the rejection and learned how to adjust and overcome some of that stuff. That takes a certain skill set.
Yeah, there was no training. It was. Here you go.
Figure it out.
Here's some street addresses. Good luck.
Yeah.
So I guess I figured it out. After a while, it took me a little bit because I did have that person that was able to, kind of help me along the way, kind of guide me a little bit. So
you were signing people up for cable services?
Yeah, knocking on doors. And back then there was no competition.
Right.
What is now Frontier was, which Verizon came in after a few years, but they weren't in existence. So it was just knocking on their door.
Yeah.
You want cable internet service at that time? And then, with that, I did that. Like I said, I was with the change of spectrum. I got into what they called the MDU department, which was apartment complexes. And that was mainly kind of probably more account management than anything, because you kind of dealt with kind of like what we do now. We dealt with the leasing agents to sign up services for cable.
Sure.
But we also had like blitzes that we'd have to do throughout the year to where we'd go to residential. It was kind of like mixed residential and apartments. And then we went specifically to...
A little bit easier to go door to door in an apartment building, isn't it? You're just a little bit closer together.
Yeah.
I'll knock on this one. I'll take a couple steps and knock on that one.
Exactly. Much easier. And in the apartment complexes, we didn't...
Because you get the whole building, yeah.
But you get the whole complex.
Right.
So it was a lot easier. It was more like I said, account management. And then I went into what they call SMB, small to medium business, for the last 3 years of my career there. The last 3 years was in business. 2 of the years were small to medium business, and I moved to enterprise the last year. And that's kind of when the transition of spectrum was happening. Decided I wanted to do something different. And that's when kind of my idea of kind of just being a resource of the multiple services that are out there to offer to residential customers came about.
It's an interesting business model, and I want to make sure people even know what Utility Helpers does exactly, because I don't think it's common knowledge, I guess you would say, that even your service or your industry exists, right? So for people who aren't familiar, we're going to get back to how it got started in just a second, but what exactly does Utility Helpers do, and what niche are you serving?
So we actually set up the utilities and home services. So it's, our core products are cable, internet, phone. We do set up the electric. Water, sewer, trash is hit or miss. If we can set it up, we do. If we can't, we give them very, very detailed instructions. They don't have to look anywhere else. We do.
So it's electric, cable, internet,
phone, home security.
People have home phones nowadays still?
Actually, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
There's not a lot, but people still order it. I'm like, for
it's
facts,
it's a bundle package.
Yeah, and sometimes it is. At this day and age, it's not really necessarily cheaper, but if they do have a discounted rate, then we offer that.
Sure.
We're a consultative approach when it comes to all this stuff. We do offer home security and homeowners insurance as well.
Yep.
Just kind of an offering. So, if it's something that they want, it's pretty much anything to get them at home. Movers and pods we also offer. So those are the core products of what we offer to the customers.
So this idea, was there other businesses when you started getting into this space, right, that you looked at and said, I kind of that business model is intriguing to me. It looks like a good opportunity, or was this kind of looks like a genesis of an idea that you had and said, this is a service that I think I can fill, and I don't see anybody else doing it?
So I did not know. There is businesses like ours that I did not know existed for actually a while after we started.
Right.
It was more of a meeting of the minds of me and my ex-business partner that we came up to this business model of how we were going to work it. Because I know that we both wanted to focus on the real estate market, obviously, with residential customers moving in, and just kind of had to facilitate what exactly do we want to offer and how do we want to offer it. Because we found out when we first started that a lot of our competitors weren't offering like the core utility services such as, electric, water, sewer, and trash, because there's typically no income into that unless you get into a deregulated state like Texas, or up in the Northeast, they have deregulated electric states. But we wanted to be the full one-stop shop, so we're not saying, oh, we're just going to do this, and then we're going to tell you what the phone numbers are over here. We wanted to be that white glove service to where people didn't have to go look around.
When did Utility Helpers start again?
2017.
When did you meet Elijah?
So we met through, I don't know the exact time, but we met through a mutual friend.
Okay.
Years before that.
Okay.
Ran into him at.
So you guys had a friendship prior.
Correct. Yep.
And then at some point, did you guys just decide, why don't we consider going into business together, or how did that actually take shape?
So Interestingly enough, as I was thinking about, leaving corporate America and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I was looking at the reseller market, or being an authorized dealer. So I actually got a phone call from him asking me a lot of questions about it. Then he was like, it sounds like you're doing something similar to what I want to do. So why don't we kind of meeting in the minds and see if it makes sense for us to come together and do this together. So, and that's where it kind of came about, because he was looking for contacts to get contracts. That's an interesting saying.
Contacts for contracts. Yeah.
There you go.
You said it really well, though. That would have tied me up. So it sounds like both of you were kind of in the same space at the same time, thinking of this as a business opportunity, and didn't realize both of you were kind of thinking the same way.
Correct. Yeah. And just him reaching out to me to get questions because of our mutual friend at the time. Because we kind of hung out through that mutual friend. And then kind of came to light, and it took us a little while to get everything because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
The process was rough, to say the least, because I was used to also selling one product. And we went from selling one product to two different our cable services, to where you had to figure out what pricing is what. So it was quite overwhelming at the beginning. So
I can imagine, yeah.
People that say they want to, they're interested in starting something in this space, I'm like, good luck.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It can be done. It's just, it took a lot to get to where we're at today with everything.
So did you have to learn to hone in on certain offerings and which ones you thought was going to make the most sense as far as packages, or did you really just lay out a bunch of different options for the client, and it was more of an a la carte type selection?
Yeah, so it was. So like I said, we're still to this day, a full concierge. We're there to help make sure they make the right decision for what their needs are. So it's like any approach, consultative approach. It's find out what the need is and fill that need of what internet speeds are going to be there, what cable packages are going to be there. So we have them all available because we are nationwide now. So it's a little bit even more difficult, but we have it, and we're able to manage it, and we make it very simple.
Yeah.
We have ton of tools and everything, but yeah, it's what are your needs? They're telling us what their needs are, and we fill those needs. And they can always make changes. It's not like you're set in this day and age. There's no really contract, so it's not like this is what you have to have. You can always change it, and you can always call us back, and we can help people out as well.
Talk a little bit about how the business evolved over the years. Did you start in a specific geographic area at first? Was it just Florida? Was it even more niche than that? And then, as you just said, you guys obviously now are national. How did that evolution happen?
Yeah, so we started in really the Tampa Bay market. Honestly, in St. Pete, with Elijah knowing people, being a agent broker in that area.
And he was a licensed agent at the time, right?
That is correct.
Real estate agent. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
It still is, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. So he, kind of helped us there. And then, with my door-to-door experience, I also went out, knocked on business doors, tried to get business. But it's really hard to sell a free service.
Sure.
It's
funny. People always are skeptical about anything free. They don't like that word.
They always are like, what's the catch? What's the catch? And I'm always like, and that's where we tried very hard, not to go too far off subject here, but to build up our Google reviews so people can see that we're not inflating anything. We're not charging anybody more. In most cases, we're giving them further discounts because, we're doing all the services in one shot.
That's where your revenue comes from, is from the company side, not the consumer side,
correct.
Right?
Nobody pays us anything. We've had some things on our website because we were getting a lot of calls from investors and stuff that just want us to do hard utility stuff. So we had a business model that nobody has really taken advantage of, but we have it there if somebody did want to do that, for us to do all the disconnects and connects on the hard utilities only. But our core focus is home buyers or renters as well, because actually we just launched. We've always helped out property management companies, like residential real estate property management companies, but didn't really focus on it. So a lot of people didn't know that we did it. We literally we just did a test run with a company over the last couple months, and now we are into property management as well. And it's actually a really cool product for them. Makes it super simple. And everything. And we also do, in turn with that, we can also actually go back to my roots of apartment complexes.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. So I would imagine the scalability from those relationships, right, would be powerful for bigger complexes and apartment buildings. And do you also do commercial, or is it all residential?
It's all residential. We've been asked a lot about commercial, and there are a few things on the commercial side that we've heard of, but haven't really researched. So, and we have helped commercial buildings out before, on a 1-by-1 cases, as long as there's something that we can do. We don't we want to be able to be able to offer that full concierge service.
Right. So are apartment buildings and those property management relationships a big part of your business model today?
No, actually, we're just getting that launched.
Okay.
So we just tested it with a property manager that has, I think, 175 doors. So, I mean, so that's how many doors he has.
So you've scaled it nationally just from like mostly single family home customers, like all over the country.
Yeah, that's correct. And ironically, we haven't done a whole lot of marketing or anything. It's been a lot of pretty much all organic. Just from relationships and word of mouth on social media. Mm-hmm. So that's actually the interesting part for even me is it was always the fear at the beginning to get too big too fast and not be able to, provide the service we want to provide. Mm-hmm. So we didn't really try to push it out too far. So, through agents, and then we went into the transaction coordinator, area of them because they're also dealing with that and they're dealing with what we deal with. And if we can do what they're already doing and take it away from them, they can do more transactions.
Right.
So
I was going to bring that up too. So like, who are the best strategic partners for you? You obviously work with us because of our network of real estate agents.
Yep.
So we can talk a little bit about how you've worked with agents generally and how if I'm an agent, I would want to have you as one of my partners and why, right?
Yeah.
So why don't we start just with that first? Like, tell me a little bit about your relationship with real estate agents, how that got traction, how that relationship generally works.
Yeah, it's pretty much we have a couple different ways to submit the buyers to us, and I think that what we do is a huge benefit to the buyer and the agent because you're not going to get to the closing table if you use our service and there's not going to be anything set up. Mm-hmm. And unless they don't, sometimes, like I said, read their emails.
Mm-hmm. So sure, no one ever does that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I believe that it's definitely a benefit to the buyer as well as the agent because they don't have to deal with it. Like they're not going to have their buyer calling them, who's the water service provider, who's the trash provider, who's the electric provider, who's the cable provider. Mm-hmm. We have all that. We have a system in place that does a very good job at finding who's the provider at that house. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's like 28 water municipalities in Pinellas County. Mm-hmm. Now that's not the norm, but that's where we started.
Right.
So it was very difficult and frustrating at the beginning.
So from an agent's perspective, it's like they have a buyer. One of the first things that they'd want to provide to that buyer would be your contact information, right?
So
if I'm understanding that correctly?
So yeah, we actually asked that the agents submit their information or work with one of our integrations in order to submit the information to us.
Makes sense.
Just because the way that we work,
then you reach out to the buyer?
Correct, because so we can facilitate all the research and everything up front when we call the buyer, so we're ready to go.
That makes sense.
Versus if they
and it's
call
in your
us,
control that way.
Right. Yeah. They call us and we're like, okay, let's give it the information now. We need to call you back because we're very segmented in our business structure just because it makes the most sense. Because when we first started, obviously there was me doing the lookups, me calling the people and whatever. And then there was also, so we segmented out to where there's actually a research department. There's actually the research department, our client concierge, and then there's the order management department. Because we had to put a lot of the stuff in place for our order management department, like when COVID happened, because they were doing like ship to homes. Well, they were wanting to ship it to the house like right away.
Right.
So we've had to like kind of change our business model and forced to change our business model to make sure it can satisfy the buyer's needs.
Yeah.
We've done.
Do you want the agent to prep their buyer in any way? So they submit their information. Do you want them to set the expectation that they're going to be hearing from you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it makes it a lot easier. I mean, obviously, we have to take some information from the buyer. So, coming from a trusted source like the real estate agent, we're very protective of how we do it, what we do. We've always even been in office even through COVID just because of the information that we take. Prepping the buyer is 100% needed. Just say, hey, I work with this company called Utility Helpers. They're going to be calling you to set up all your utilities and home services.
Yeah.
I've submitted the information, and when they do submit the information, the buyer will get an email saying that the agent submitted the information that we'll be reaching out, as well as
that makes sense.
Agent gets
streamlined
an email. Yeah, and then they can also schedule a call on that email. So
then you become the go-to resource for all of those questions that they would be asking the agent about who they should set up this for, that for, this for. Now they just operate with you and you alone.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's literally taken all of that off their plate. Like I know, like in my apartment days, they were, and even sometimes now, there's agents and apartment managers and builders will just hand over a list of here's the utilities. Well, I mean, when I was doing some door to door, like even the builders had like Spectrum, or Bright House still on the form, and it's an old number that they've changed. They no longer even exist anymore.
Right.
So I'm like, this is the reason why you should use us, because we always have the updated information, and we have those partnerships. We've worked hard on building partnerships and relationships with these providers, whether it's directly or through third parties, to make sure that we have the benefits that they need for the buyers, like the discounted rates and the bundle packages and everything like that.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So the real ultimate, there's multiple benefits for the real estate agent, but one of the main ones is probably just freeing up their time, right? Not having to deal with some of the, maybe annoying questions that can come up in the process, and knowing that it makes them look more professional, I think, as well, if they position themselves with like, this is part of my team, right? It's part of my service. It's part of what I bring to the table as the agent, is a service that's going to take care of all those needs for you.
100%, yeah. And we always reference the agent as the referring person to us. Hey, you've been provided our information by such and such realtor to make sure we take care of your utilities and home services. So
totally,
it gives them a benefit as well. And like you said, time and money. And I believe the same.
And professionalism, I think that's a big part of it. Like an agent wants to, it's all, how it is. Agents are all about how they look, and it's the positioning of things, right? And so if you can position yourself with the right partnership, the right team, the right service providers, it just makes you look better.
100%.
And I think you fit really well into that scope there.
Yeah, and we've worked extremely hard to make sure that it's a benefit to them and a benefit to the buyer, because our average call time is between 15 and 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. If anybody has tried to call utility companies, how long does it take to figure it all out, call them, do it, and then you're also given the information over and over, like 3 or 4 times, or at least. So we take it one time and we're keying it into those portals, and then boom, it's done.
And then so there's not like a residual model based under this at all. So you help the customer one time, I guess you wouldn't help them again or have any relationship with them again until they would move again, right?
That's correct. In some cases, we might send out, like if their campaign or their promotional, we haven't really done a lot of it, but we can send them an email saying, hey, your promotion's ending. Do you want to look at what else is available? Because the standard protocol being in the cable industry, I know this, is raise your bill $20 every year, or $40 every year.
Right. It's always the new guys that get the good deals.
It is the new guys that get the good deals, and that's nationwide. It doesn't matter whether
loyal
you're
customers, we get screwed every year,
Exactly, and I think that business model is changing a little bit. But we'll see what the future holds with that. But yeah,
so you do have some form of ongoing communication with the client a little bit anyway?
Not a whole lot. We really don't. We usually just, get it set up and done.
Yeah.
We have done a campaign just sent out to say, hey, if your rates went up and you want to reshop, give us a call.
Yeah.
It's not like we're, calling them, 100 times, trying to sell them more and more stuff. We don't like that model. We've heard a lot of complaints about other companies that will sell the information and do all that stuff. We don't sell the information. We're very, very protective of
I think that's important to know.
Compliance, because again, we want to make sure that we're in control of not only the data, but who's calling them.
Yeah.
So all of the stuff that we do in-house, unless it's, like a mover. Obviously the mover is going to have to get the quote and call them and go out to their house and see what they have. But they have to also request it. We're not just blind sending stuff to people like that. It's got to be a request by the buyer.
Right.
So we're very, like I said, protective of how we do it and what we do to make sure that it is a benefit, like you said, to the agent. Because once you start doing stuff like that, then it just becomes, it's a headache. No,
it makes all the sense in the world. So are most of your clients then, most of the homeowners that you serve through these agent relationships, is that the biggest source of your strategic partnerships, or are there other industries that you've had even more traction with?
So yeah, I would say that agents are, they're our best resource, to be honest, because they do have that working relationship with that buyer. So they're with them, showing them homes a lot or whatever, and having that communication while they're going through the close. We do work with home inspectors, and we actually onboarded, it's been a little while now, but we onboarded a national lender some time ago, about 1.5 years, 2 years ago now, maybe in the beginning of last year.
Okay.
So yeah, and we work with some title companies as well. So almost anybody who touches a buyer, we have a relationship with somebody there.
And is that how you've scaled nationally? Like your approach of how you've gone about this on a national level, has it been through these agent relationships, title, or the national lenders, or like how would you How have you scaled from like Florida to other markets? Because it's not like most real estate agents are very local, right?
Correct.
So they're not necessarily serving other states, most of them.
Yeah.
So how has that worked for you?
I think actually the majority was the transaction coordinators. So we did do a conference here locally. And that helped us, kind of get to know that community. And then they kind of were talking about us because it's a huge benefit to them too, because a lot of times they are also looking this up, trying to figure this out, and then at least giving them the information if some of them are even doing it themselves.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I'm not going to charge you anything, why am I doing this?
Right.
So that's, I would say that's probably was the biggest thing for us to grow nationally. And
the relationship with transaction coordinators.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was obviously scary at first, but then at some point I'm like, we just have to, if we're going to scale and we want to go further than Florida, we have to at least just try it out and see what happens. And if it doesn't work out to where we're providing the service that we want to provide, then we'll say, okay,
scale back.
We'll scale back. Yeah.
And is the hardest part of that just all the research required? I would imagine, like, because there's so many different companies that you're trying to figure out the nuances with, and the more states you scale to, the harder it is to build that research list, right?
So I wouldn't say it's hard to scale now because we have, we know how to find what we need to find. So even with the lender that we onboarded, we've gotten stuff in very rural areas to where they're sitting on 30 acres, or Alaska to where we've never went to, and it's like, what do you do here? Like,
there's no power anywhere around you.
Yeah, you're off grid.
Yeah. No connection needed.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it's things like that. But I mean, we have a solution for everybody because we have the satellite internets if needed. We have, the T-Mobile internet if it's available. We have the Verizon, 5G network if we need it. But then we also have the local providers as well throughout the country.
Yeah. How many employees you guys have now?
We have 15, and then we are like 18 employees total.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they work out in those different departments that you were talking about a few minutes ago.
Yep.
So what about the business that you've scaled now over the years has kind of surprised you? Has there been things that are a little bit different than what your expectations were? Or do you feel like it's kind of evolved the way you thought it might?
I think some of the providers sometimes surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the sometimes their systems, are just outdated or antiquated. So it's
communication just isn't very good.
And that's why, unfortunately, like a lot of I don't want to say unfortunately, that's probably the wrong word to use, but the water sewer trash is harder for us to get a relationship with because they're so outdated that there's nothing that they can do to integrate us or to add us. And we're still working on those types of things. But even with that, like I said, we make it super simple because we give, and that's the other benefit to us as well for the agent and the buyer or anybody who works with us, is we actually give the buyer a very detailed confirmation email that has all of the data in there, the installation times, the installation dates, all the screenshots that we can take. So it's there, it's all in one email. And then like for the water sewer trash, if there's an application that they have to fill out and sign, we attach the application or we'll send them the link or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So we make it.
Do you have buyers as well who reach out to you? Is that a normal part of your process where the buyer somehow sees you, whether it's online or they do their own research and just they are interested without any sort of a strategic setup?
Yeah, we actually, we don't get a lot of those. We get some that just do hand the phone number or our email address to the buyer. So we'll get a few of those. But we do get some that will find us online and call us. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
But we do have some traction we haven't really, like I said, done any like SEO stuff. But because of the amount of Google reviews we have, I'm assuming our information is being pushed out there right now. So if somebody looks up for you,
that's how the algorithm works. Yeah.
Yeah. So they find us that way, I guess.
Makes sense.
Because even agents find us on Google when they're looking up utilities for whatever that city is.
Right.
We pop up.
That makes sense. So has the company fairly just consistently grown kind of year over year, or did you have more of an ebb and flow type of thing, or how's it looked?
I wouldn't say ebb and flow. At the beginning, it was kind of slow to roll, just because like I said, the free service.
Seems like it would take some momentum. You need to take some time.
Once we got there, I think it was an increase, over time, and then I think what it is we hit certain points to where we're like, okay, we're busy enough. We need to make sure that this is fine tuned and we're not going to drop balls and stuff like that. So then we would plateau because we're not trying to be out there marketing or anything like that. Because I mean, like I said, a lot of it was going door to door, previous relationships and things of that nature. And then, also, some of the other stuff. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
We lasted through COVID. Actually, the first year, like month over month, we were growing like 10 to 20% month over month. Just because nobody knew what to do because you couldn't get into a door.
Right.
We had all the research done. We had our team. All right, let's call to see what we can do to help these people out so they're not having to go, or do they have to go?
Yeah.
In person. And then, we plateaued, and then we shot up again, and then we plateaued. And then and even with the market now, I mean, we're down probably a little bit, but I wouldn't say we're hurting. We have so much room to grow throughout the country, and we have the capability now to take on a lot more. So we make sure that we have the capacity if a larger partner or brokerage or something says, hey, we're interested, so that we can onboard somebody pretty quick.
What's the most challenging part of the business? Is it like the front end in terms of the strategic relationships and getting your buyer network built up, or do you have challenges on the backside in your relationships with these providers? Like, do they try to nickel and dime you guys at all on what they're willing to pay you, or like how?
I won't name names, but some yes. I mean, the payouts do vary from company to company. They do. We don't relate.
Is that always like a constant negotiation that you have to deal with?
I wouldn't say it's not constant. No. I mean, it is what it is.
Right. Business.
They give you what they give you, and that's what you have to deal with. Right. So it's one of those things that our reps don't know anything about that either. So it's a very, like I said, consultative approach. So I want to make sure, that I make that point. They have no idea what providers pay what.
Right.
They have no clue.
Right.
So it's not like they're
not preferring one or the other.
Yeah. They're not steering a customer one direction or the other.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, difficulties. I mean, running a business can be just difficult.
Just people.
People are, I mean, and that is the case. I mean, and that ebbs and flows. Like we have a great team right now, a solid team right now. But it's one of those things to where the people can be the issue. And I think that was probably the larger headache. And I mean, honestly, building processes out to make sure it is scalable and to make sure that we can provide that service that we want to provide.
This was your first time running your own business, right?
It is.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's a testament really to your persistence that you've made it work as long as you have, because a lot of people, when especially their first time running a business, we all know the stats out there, right? It's not great for first time business owners to be successful for as long as you have. So it's a real testament to that. So you guys have done something pretty well with that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't think about that often, but I'm like, I've lasted
something to be proud
years.
Of. Yeah, that's a
they
win.
say after 5 years you're good. We're as a business, we're plugging along. We're getting through it. I mean, the market ebbs and flows, and we'll ebb and flow with it. I mean, there's things that we can do to stay alive and make sure that our employees are paid and they're doing good too.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely, it makes sense. What is your favorite part about being a business owner?
I like the freedom of it, but I will say that I'm probably in the office more,
right.
or working
Freedom
more.
is an interesting word.
Maybe not necessarily in the office, but I'm working more than I did when I was in corporate America. I mean, because it's my baby, as we probably say as business owners. So I say freedom, but I don't really take the freedom to my advantage.
Yeah.
Because I like to be in the trenches or be there for the business and be there for the people that are helping me be successful in the business. So it's like if they have a question, I want to be available. I always have an open door policy. So my door is literally always open, even if usually if I'm on a call. If I'm on a call, sometimes I'll shut it, but because they will just barge in and be like, "Hey, I need this. I'm on a call."
Right.
But I want to be available.
The sign is up for a reason, buddy. Come on now.
Actually, we just talked about that yesterday. Put a sign up to say, because even if my door's closed, they'll be like, "Hey,
do not disturb," right?
Which is fine. I mean,
works in the hotel industry. I might as well give it a shot.
I mean, we'll try.
Question for you: have you started to implement Starlink?
They do not suppose so. Starlink is one of the things that I've tried to get a relationship with them. I don't know if they have any resellers. They say they do, and I found some things, but they seem scammy. So I'm still in the process of researching that. They have it for business, I think, is all they have it for. So B2B stuff they have, not business to consumer. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I'm sure if they're doing it B2B, eventually they'll probably launch it B2C. But yes, I look at it about every 4 to 5 months to see if they've updated their website.
What's the future looking like for 2025 and beyond? I know that you guys just went through a little bit of a business transition, right? Yep. God bless you, Elijah. I'm sure you're doing well out there. We love you, and I hope you're doing great. So Jonathon Brown is now it's all on you, bro. Like, where's this thing headed now as far as we're utility builder? What are you excited about?
So, I mean, I'm excited about the growth in general. I mean, whether it's now or then, like I said, we launched not really launched, I wouldn't say, but it's public today. Here we are. So, we've kind of honed in that property management aspect of it to kind of give it's the same service type. And then also the apartment complexes. So I think that there's a lot of room for growth there. When I was in the apartment industry doing the sales in the apartment complexes, so there's a ton of stuff there. In the real estate market side of things, we're still, that's a huge focus for us. Mm-hmm. We're not going to forget our core, not going to leave that alone. We're still looking to grow that. We hired a business development manager to kind of help us, grow that portion of it on the real estate side of things.
That's cool.
Because we definitely, and there's things like that we're putting in place to grow. I mean, I want to double what we did last year, if not triple it.
Nice.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it seems like there's a lot of scalability opportunity with that. I mean, especially now that you're national. I mean, there's almost an endless amount of agents out there with broker offices out there that if you can work on those relationships, things could scale, I would think, rather quickly if those relationships are strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I like I said, we worked hard on our Google reviews to at least have, because like I said, it was hard to say, here's a free service, use it. And everybody's like, well, what's the catch?
Right. Now you have credibility behind it.
And yeah, absolutely. And that credibility is huge.
For sure.
And trust in what we do. Because there are some times that we get blamed for stuff that we didn't do and we don't get the phone call. Because I'm a fixer. I will make sure that I can make whatever I can make right. Mm-hmm. And do what I can. If there's something that we messed up and it's on us, I'm gonna fix it.
Yeah.
If I had to pay for somebody's pool cleaning service one time, and they're reconnect on their electric and water service because we messed up. We're humans.
All it takes is one really dissatisfied customer to really kind of ruin some of the reputation. So
but it's how you bounce back from those types of things. I totally believe that. If you take care of them, then you could be more of a hero than if everything went smooth sometimes. So, and I totally believe in making things right. Because also we don't want to tarnish any relationship at all. And if it's a real estate agent that's referring us, we want to make sure that
you're an extension of them.
Yeah, we don't want to affect their relationship with that buyer either.
Totally.
Because that can cost them money. We don't want to do that. So, we don't have. I would say we don't have a lot of mistakes, but we're human.
No doubt.
We forget to hit the submit button sometimes. I mean, I shouldn't say sometimes, but once in a blue moon.
Right. Well, as long as you respond, like you said, with integrity and just own up to when there is a mistake made, and people generally respect that. So it makes sense. Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap up here, but a couple quick things just on the personal side for people to get to know you. So, what's your story? Married, kids? What do you love to do for fun?
Oh boy. So yes, married. I have 3 children, 2 dogs.
How old are your kids now?
15, 14, and 8.
Okay. So you still got your hands full over there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Yours more than mine, though.
Yeah, it's true. My hands are a little fuller, but they're still full.
Yeah.
What do you guys love to do for fun when you're just hanging out with the family or not dealing about the business?
We just hang out. That's really it. I mean, actually, my wife has been working with me.
Is she in the business with you?
Yes. She's been working with me for 5 years now.
Okay.
It was kind of on and off. We've actually worked together most of the time we've known each other.
Okay.
Actually, back in my cable days when I was a sales rep, she was one of the girls that I would call into to
oh, wow. So you guys go way back.
My orders. Yeah. I mean, so, but yeah, we've been together a long time. She's been a blessing, honestly. She helps out in the office. She's done a whole lot for utility helpers and help the growth and streamline a lot of the processes as well.
Yeah.
So our lives are pretty much inundated with utility helpers and children.
I got you. A couple rapid fire questions. Do you have a favorite book, author, seminar maybe that's ever made an impact on you personally or professionally?
Boy, that's one thing I'm terrible at, honestly, are books and reading. I buy them and I set them on my nightstand and I don't ever read them.
Are you like a podcast guy or audio or?
Yeah, so I haven't, so I try to get into the books and the podcasts. And again, I I don't know.
Not
why.
much. Who's got the time
I'm
for this, man?
boring
You're
for
building
this.
a business, for goodness sakes. And I hear you, man. I get it. And that's the life of a true
Like
entrepreneur.
I see a lot of books that you post, and I'm like, man, I want to get that. And sometimes I think I've gotten a couple of the books that you suggested, and they just sit there.
Right.
I'm like I got like 5 or 6 in my office that I'm like, I just need to take these home and do it.
You just got to get the Audible app, bro.
And that's what I need to do.
Just let them
listen to
play
it.
when you're driving in the car, and let your car become a little bit of a university. That's it.
So more social media and books should be my goal for this year. We'll make it today.
Giddy up. There we go. We're setting resolutions.
Well, and I will say exactly, resolution's a little late, but yeah. And then my wife and I we spent so much time together, but we started working out too. So I'm trying to work on my health. I didn't realize I was
doubt.
looking at I was watching a video that I was going to I'm going to have somebody edit this, and I looked at it and I was like, I need to do something about that.
Yeah, I hate sometimes when I see myself in a picture. I'm like, man, when did I lose that much hair? It's like I got some work to do on some areas. So
there you go. It is what it is.
There ain't nothing wrong with that, no doubt. All right. So this is kind of our last question. This has to do with what I would call the legacy question, but I think in your case, it also I'm interested to hear about from the business perspective. Do you have an exit strategy for the business? Is the plan to eventually scale and sell? Do you want to keep it private? Have you thought about that at all?
So yes and no. I mean, with me taking over 100% ownership, that was semi-discussed. I didn't feel like it was the right time for me personally, that I wanted to exit out of the business. When I started this, there's no exit plan. There's no exit plan right now.
Yeah.
I'm always afraid to sell it and then they do something that doesn't fit with what my core values are in this business.
I'm sure you've gotten offers already by certain brands out there.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, I mean, nothing crazy, but yeah, there's a couple people that have looked and said, "Are you interested?" And I tell them no.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's a number on everything, as anybody would say.
Right.
So, I mean, would I, if the number was right? Yes.
But you're not entertaining it anytime soon here.
No.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't throw out a number at all. It's one of those things to where this is my baby, and I want to make sure that I see it through because I know that I can make this even much bigger, more successful, and carry this on.
What do you think matters most to you, Jonathan, when you are sitting on that rocking chair many years from now, and you can look back and be like, all right, what type of legacy did I leave? What do I want to be remembered for? What do you think matters most to you in that perspective?
Yeah, I would say, my employees, I want to make sure that they're taken care of and making sure that they're happy where they're at. I've always said, I want my employees to be happy coming to work and make money. That's what I want them. So I don't know if that's considered a legacy of saying, hey, making sure they're taken care of, as long as they want to be. We're here. We're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. And a lot of my employees are they're dedicated to what we do.
Do you have any sort of employee equity options programs or at all where they can get tied into the term of the company long term?
We don't, not right now. I mean, it's something that it's funny because there was a company that sold recently that I looked at that and I was like, I wonder if he gave any, because it was a big number that I saw, and I was like, I wonder if he gave any of his employees any of that, because I think that would be the right thing to do personally, because they're the ones who helped you build that business.
For sure.
And without them, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
So it's I couldn't do this by myself.
Yeah, and I've heard Tony Robbins and others talk about that as a business model and how powerful it is when you talking about really getting that loyalty, right?
Absolutely.
From your employees. So always something to consider, and you gotta have certain really strategic plans in place as to what it would look like to actually deliver it. But I think it does make a lot of sense for the right situation.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's nothing I wouldn't say no to.
Yeah.
But we're definitely, we're still small. I mean, even though we've been in it for 7 years, I think we're still a small game because we're a high volume, low margin business, unfortunately. But we're making it work.
No doubt. Well, it's good to have you here, man. I thought that this was a fascinating conversation. I mean, I've known you now for years, but I think this was the deepest we've ever really gotten into your business model before. I know we had lunch before, and I've talked about some of it as well, but it's one of those things where I don't think common knowledge as far as how your model actually works. Yeah. And so hopefully today was insightful for people.
I hope so.
If you're a real estate agent out there, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to work with Jonathon and his team. It would be a simple, just make you look good. That's really all it is. There's nothing really that you'd have to really worry about. I know that they're trustworthy guys, and I would highly recommend that you contact Jonathon. If somebody does want to talk to you or just pick your brain, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Email is probably the best, honestly. I mean, they can call my team too. If they just want to know what we do or how we do it, I mean, our phone number is 813-291-3600. Or you can always email me. It's just my initials, JB at utilityhelpers. That's helpers with an S.com. And I'm open to conversation, open to talk to teams, open to talk to single agents, whatever the case may be.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, as we always do, let's end with a challenge to the audience. So whether you're watching any of the live streams on Facebook or YouTube, or you're listening in on any of your favorite podcast platforms, what is one action step that you can take today from our conversation with Jonathon that will help propel you forward personally or professionally? Maybe you are an agent out there who just loves the idea of having Jonathon as part of your team, right? Where you now position yourself as somebody who has a great organization of service that you're going to provide for your buyers. So that might be worth the conversation right there, just to make yourself position yourself properly as a top producing agent. Or maybe there's anything else that we had discussed in today that you wanted to do some research on or learn more about regarding the business model or the industry. But take action, right? Do something that's going to propel you forward, because we want to make sure the time you listen to these episodes is going to be worth it for you, and action is the key to that. If you haven't already subscribed to our podcast, click the button below. That way that you'll be notified every time we drop a new episode, which is weekly. And we will continue to be interviewing great people who are partners of our producers, as well as our agents that are top producers throughout the country. So as we always say, check us out at topproducersnation.com. See our resources, our community there. You can join the community for free as an agent who wants to grow. All we ask is that you fill out the questions so that we know you're committed to growing over the next 12 months, because we do have an approval process for you to be able to officially join the Top Producers Nation community. We, of course, will see you on the next episode of Top Producers Nation. Later.